Hi, welcome back to the another video tutorial from TI Lectures. In this video lecture, this is the second part of the video lecture of the topic types of the drugs. In this video lecture, we'll be discussing about the second type of the drug that's known as psychedelic drugs. As in the previous lecture, we mentioned the psychotropic drugs. Now in this video lecture, we'll be discussing about the types of the what are the psychedelic drugs and types of the psychedelic drugs. Now we'll move the second major type of the habituating drug, that is psychedelic drug. Right, this is the psychedelic drug. What are the psychedelic drugs? These drugs are called as hallucinogens. This is very important, and you must remember that psychedelic drugs are called as hallucinogens. Why they are called as hallucinogens? Because they produce a kind of dream-like state. They change one's behavior, they change thoughts of an individual, feelings, even perceptions, without having in an actual sensory stimulus and loss of contact with the reality. Sometimes they are called as vision producing drugs, as they produce false imaginations. You got my point? There are different types of the psychedelic drugs. The first one is the LSD, that's known as lysergic acid dimethylamide. This is one of the most important and potent hallucinogen found. It's obtained from the fungus, and that fungus is called as Calevisippus purpura. You got my point? That is known as Calevisippus purpura. Calevisippus purpura. This LSD, this known as lysergic acid dimethylamide, it is one of the most potent hallucinogen found. It's obtained from the fungus. That fungus is known as Calevisippus purpura. Got my point? It's always how it's being used by the individuals, by the people. It's always smoked, and it causes horrible dreams, it causes emotional outbursts in an individual, and ultimately it causes severe damage to the central nervous system. All right, the second one, that is cannabinoids. All right, the cannabinoids, as the name indicates, these cannabinoids, these are actually the products of the hemp plant. You know the hemp plant? Hemp plant, these cannabinoids, these are usually or actually a group of chemicals obtained from the hemp plant. Hemp plant, I mentioned the name here, hemp plant. Hemp plant. Hemp plant is also called as cannabis sativa. So cannabinoids, these are actually the group of chemicals which are derived from the cannabis sativa. How they are derived from the cannabis sativa? They are either derived from the leaves, they may be they are either derived from the resin products, or they may be derived from the inflorescence of this hemp plant. Right, there are four main types of cannabinoids, as I mentioned here, different types of cannabinoids. The first one is bhang, second one is ganja, and the third one is charas. Got my point? These are derivatives of the hemp plant, what we called as cannabis sativa. Right, first we'll see bhang. It's obtained from the fresh or dried leaves and flowering shoots of this cannabis sativa, and how it affects the individual. It affects the individual, but its effect is it's not fast, its effect is very slow. Right, the second one is ganja. This is also derived from the inflorescence of the cannabis sativa. Right, it is more potent and more important than the bhang, as its effects that they are produced very fast in an individual. The third one, that's charas. Right, it is it's a kind of dried resinous extract. Dried resinous extract obtained from the flowering tops, obtained from the leaves of the cannabis sativa. It's the most potent and smoked with tobacco. Right, in some countries like America, this charas is called as hashish. You got my point? So this was all about the types of the habituating drugs. We categorize the habituating drugs into two major categories, major types. First was the psychotropic drug, in which we went through the tranquilizers, we went through the sedatives, opiates, and stimulants, and then we went through the psychedelic drugs, in which we mentioned LSD, we mentioned the cannabinoids, which are derivatives of the hemp nut or cannabis sativa. Got my point? Now if we'll see that how we diagnose that a person is an addictive, I must say that I mean here that what are the symptoms of the drug addicts, right? There are different and many symptoms of the these drug addicts, but the most important include the unprovoked violence, it may include the undue excitement, it may include, you know, you might have notes yourself, it may include the irritation, it may include frequent mood swing, frequent mood changes, it may include drowsy looks, it may include pale looking eyes, or sometimes, you know, you might have noticed that thing, that's the loss of interest in work, loss of interest in studies, socially inactive, increased demands of money, and poor memory, poor hygiene, loss of appetite, loss of weight, and much more. So these are different and the major symptoms of a drug addict. Now in the next video lecture, we'll be discussing about some important issues, how we will eradicate, how we will wipe out these drugs from our society. Thank you very much.